Awesome. Okay, great. So just to reintroduce for those who have just joined, again, my name is Kerry-Ann Joseph-McLean. My husband, Cornell McLean, and I, we are health enthusiasts. We are not practitioners. We don't have any top credentials, but what we've done is do our due diligence. And so we want to share, wealth in the form of health. And so in doing that, everyone has a different superpower. I love sharing information. One of my superpowers is just basically building awareness through health. And of course, we can be our own health advocate for ourselves, because many times we have certain conditions and we can't quite pinpoint what those issues are until we convey to a doctor and they can give you their best case analysis or educated guess as to what they think you may have through different test screening and blood work and so forth. And of course, you conveying to others how you're feeling, you're the best person, your best champion to be able to heal your body or to begin that wellness journey to improve yourself for a better life, better health. And so we want to be a part of your health journey by sharing this. So every week, as I mentioned before, we have a different topic we discuss. Last week, we spoke on last few weeks, we've spoken on things like thyroid issues, thyroid cancer. We've spoken about, brain function, Alzheimer's, dementia. We've spoken about, different types of chronic issues like fibromyalgia, lupus, ADHD, and so forth. So as we go through this year, of the sort of and the years to come to be able to build awareness, it's to invite others. If you know of someone who would like to be informed, we want to invite you to be a part of our community where you feel safe in order to be able to learn and grow and to ask questions. So as I share this with you right now, again, as I'm sharing this with you, please feel free to, if you're shy and come in asking the questions verbally, you can ask the questions in the chat. And after we're finished the presentation, you can actually, we can actually address it in a way that will help you to be more informed. Okay. Here we go. So we've heard the term inflammation. Inflammation can be something that is a general term, but what is it actually? We don't really truly understand what inflammation is until we actually experience it ourselves. And it can be in certain types of different ways. Some could be short term, some could be long term. So we know the body immune system exists and it's meant to heal injuries and to fight off foreign like invaders like germs and toxins and so forth. And as we go through our life journey, different things can impact us. So some can be, in some case, acute or chronic. Acute could be where, it's natural body is trying to protect you in short-term defense. Just like sometimes we have stress, some are like everyday things we can manage that are like, minimal stress. And then there's, chronic stress. So chronic inflammation is what we are speaking on mostly and how we can actually alleviate that or to balance the body into a more wellness state, a more homeostasis state. So chronic inflammation persists long after the threat, so let's say the illness has passed and can damage your tissues or organs over time, unfortunately. So as we're looking through the acute, this acute inflammation, we know it's beneficial. It helps fight bacteria and viruses, but also we know that as we go through different challenges in life, you may hear someone says, well, I have joint pain. I have this sort of aches and pains, but they can't quite put their finger on it. So the inflammation is a protective response. It involves your immune cells, your blood vessels, your molecular mediators. And so the body's sort of communicating to you if it's well or not well. So this, we call this a disease. It's a dis-ease. The body is not at ease. So that means it's more inflamed. It has a lot of conditions that your body's trying to fight and to be able to bring it back into a wellness state. So the function of inflammation is basically to eliminate, take out toxins from your body. What goes in is what comes out. So if it's fighting something, it's trying to get rid of it. And so over time, if this is not dealt with, it can have a long-term or long-lasting negative effect. So what are the root causes of most of the diseases we can know, for example, that can trigger inflammation? Something could be physical, like burns, frostbite, physical injury, trauma. all of these things can trigger through physical conditions. Biological could be infection, like pathogens. Immune reactions due to hypersensitivity, which we know can actually be internal and external. Sometimes our body cannot break down certain things, and so it impacts our immune system. Sometimes it's environmental. It could be within your home or outside, certain toxins. It could be where, some sort of medication can trigger your immune system. It could be many things, many factors, and of course, stress. Now, we say the word stress, and we sort of not give the importance to how stress can impact the body, but it can. And sometimes we internalize things and not realize, okay, I'm not stressed because I'm having these big moments, but the micro introduction of stress into your body can have a long-term impact if it's not dealt in the right way, the correct way. In other words, chemical irritants like toxins, alcohol. Another one could be psychological. And so when I mention trauma, that could also be part of the psychological impact. And so it could be many things that can impact you. For example, if you're going through a health condition and you're internalizing stress, or you have certain type of sort of feelings or emotions, that could be psychological as well. So it can impact you in different ways, and everyone's body's different. Your body speaks to you, and sometimes we sort of put a blind eye to some of the symptoms, and we sort of put it off. We think, oh, it's just a small thing. It's just a small thing. Why I won't go to the doctor? Or maybe I know it'll pass. So my belief is that if we are the doctors of the future, in the sense of not self-diagnosis, but paying attention to your body and keeping track of what your body's going through, your mindset, your physical being, your thoughts, and you can pinpoint certain things, you're better able to articulate to your health practitioner, the person who you're speaking with, whether it's a naturopathic doctor, a nutritionist, an actual general practitioner. You can actually help to help your health journey to a wellness state in a faster time, because you're more in tune with your body, mind, and spirit. So some of the conditions linked to chronic inflammation, things like cardiovascular disease, allergies, eye disorders, asthma, diabetes, which is a big thing. People don't realize that your body is highly inflamed, especially when your insulin level is not being regulated correctly, or you have insulin resistance. Colitis, Crohn's disease, psoriasis could be another one. Obesity could be another one as well. Lung cancer, breast cancer, and other forms of cancer. Another one too is rheumatoid arthritis. Asthma, which actually, when I'm doing my research, I didn't realize this was also a condition that can trigger inflammation. My sister, my older sister, she had, up until the age of 3 years old, she had chronic asthma, severe asthma. And then over the years, it didn't trigger. And one of her daughters inherited sort of the asthma conditions, where she has used a puffer. But 50-something years later, her asthma flared up again. Now, there's certain underlying factors that can trigger that. Stress is one of them. But there's other things that I truly believe has triggered it. And there's certain sort of vaccinations that are out there. And I'm not pro or against, but I'm saying that what you put into your body, there's sometimes you don't know the impact of things until it shows up a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years later. So to put a finger, pinpoint certain things that can trigger asthma, for example, it's sometimes hard to determine. Another one is depression. Endometriosis is another one. So we sometimes think, okay, you can say I have this condition, but there are other underlying conditions that are sort of impacting you in other ways as well. Some other conditions I'm not go through all of these, but if you were to take a screen capture of this, if you ever had any of these conditions, or you know someone who's going through this as well, this could be something that can impact them, can trigger inflammation. Another thing too as well, my mother was diabetic. She passed about 2 years ago, this January passed, and she had diabetes. And diabetes, a stroke was stroke-related diabetes impacted her, but she had a related stroke too, within 5 years apart, because of diabetes. And another thing as well was neuropathy she developed, which also is part of inflammation and nerve damage. And then what I taken to all of her appointments, I sort of learned through the workshops and speaking to the dietitian and the nurse practitioner and the doctors that certain things as you're eating certain things can bring inflammation into your body, but also medication. And in her case, developing things like that, I've learned also that things like rheumatoid arthritis can be linked to diabetes. There's some studies that show that as well. So what are some of the symptoms or the signs or the flags, so to speak, that you can sort of pay attention to in case you have any of these conditions, or if you know of other people. Now, and some of these things are general symptoms that other issues could be underlying as well, but I'm just focusing right now on the chronic inflammation. So things like widespread pain, joint and muscle pain, persistent fatigue, insomnia is another one. Now there are some people who go through things like in the female side, menopause. So things like insomnia could be that too as well. Depression, anxiety could also be on the list of symptoms and signs for other conditions. But again, as I mentioned, inflammation, which can trigger other things, or could be an underlying symptom of a bigger problem. So digestive issues, another one of them, like pain and constipation, diarrhea, acid reflux, like heartburn. I have a cousin who has severe reflux. In her case, it's the reverse. So in her case, if she has symptoms like that, we know that she has more acid in her body, so she has to eat certain things to counteract that, right? Of course, your overall well-being. Frequent infections is another one of them. Weight changes, fluctuating, skin problems like eczema and rashes. So these are things some of the symptoms. Like, for example, I had a situation around my eye, and this right here, my cheek and my eye, and then it had a patch just like you see on the upper right. And so for me, I actually took certain things to counteract that, but it may not be necessarily have been that. But for me, I knew what I could take in order to be able to help my body become a better version of itself. Some people may have psoriasis. It's also an issue with inflammation, but also an autoimmune issue. You may have breaking up the skin, hands, thighs, face, other parts of your body, like your feet. Another part of inflammation could be the swelling of the feet, rashes on the feet or on the thighs or around the ankle. You may have something called, they call it heel spurs or some sort of crystallization in the heel. That could be part of inflammation as well, and also can be contributed to medication through the foods you eat, or the lack of mobility is another thing as well. But how do you counteract that? So there's also other things you can look at that you may not have realized that could be part of inflammation. So we know for sure autoimmune disorder can actually trigger inflammation, but it can also trigger back pain. So things like rheumatoid arthritis in the fingers, the joints, the back, some area in the body can trigger that type of inflammation. Stress and muscle tension is also one of them. And so when your body's overly stressed and you're not realizing that you're so stressed, you could be internalizing things. It can actually show up in the form of back pain, into muscle tension, in the neck, in the back, in certain parts of your body. Infection as well. So for example, your immune system is going down, you have a high risk of infection. You have your immune system going down, that means your stress level, all of these things are you're sort of fighting all of this in your body. So the body says, okay, I need a break. So what does it do? It actually tries to release toxins, tries to distress the body, but at times we're eating and watching and doing things that can be counterproductive. Other things I put at the bottom here are things like injury and trauma, disc herniation, regeneration of certain types of conditions like osteoporosis and so forth. These can impact you in a way that you have inflammation in the body and your body's more acidic than it should be. Another part of the information that I sort of in my research, and I actually try to put like footnotes or links where you can find this information yourself and read more in depth into it. One of my go-to is pubmed.gov. There's a public medical library that has a whole bunch of research from doctors, researchers, and they put their findings globally. And so, for example, what I'm going to share with you later on, there's over 3,000 case studies on certain conditions, on certain types of superfoods or alternatives you can actually introduce into your wellness journey that can help you in your improving of your certain conditions. So brain inflammation is one of them. It actually can be, you may not realize that sometimes your brain is highly inflamed, because how do you measure that? You can't really go into your brain and see that for yourself. But we know through research and through other things from credible websites and credible articles, not just going to Google and searching the information, because that'll give you a whole bunch of like rabbit hole information. But things like Alzheimer's, brain trauma, you can actually have gotten things like concussions, even through COVID is one of them. So the neuroinflammation, it can cause all of that to be weakened. Now, the brain itself signals to the body what it needs to, how it needs to function. So if the brain is inflamed, then the signals that go to your organs, your cells, your blood, your intestines, everything, how you walk, how you move, how you speak, if it's highly inflamed, it can impact you not just muscle fatigue, but other things as well. So for example, I've heard where I have a friend, a previous coworker, she, in her case, she had COVID and her body was already highly stressed. So she lost her ability to speak properly. She had to relearn how to speak. And so when I speak with her, she's now developed short-term memory. She's about my age. So short-term memory, and her accent is totally different. How she speaks, how she pronounces her words. And she speaks like someone who's had a stroke. So that's just a one person. I mean, there's many studies happening for brain disorders or brain injury, but inflammation is one of the things that can impact you, even your gut. If your gut is highly inflamed, because that's your second part, we consider it the second brain. If your brain is not communicating to your gut, things like this can happen. So neuroinflammation and muscle fatigue is actually well known in the medical industry, medical practice, that everything is connected. So your brain, your spine, your immune system, if it's not being protected, your body's trying to fight against it. So it's like, for example, if you eat a specific food, you feel like your body's fighting with the food. Toxins, all of these things that sometimes are in the soil that are where your food is produced, the things you consume, the things you put on, the things you actually inhale, all of these things can be a contributing factor. So how do we combat all of this without sounding too negative? There are many things you can do. One would be to regular exercise, whether it's physical activity, a brisk walk, swimming. For those of you who aren't as mobile because you may have issues like heel spurs or neuropathy, things like that. There's things like, there is chair yoga that can be done. I did that with my mom when she was alive. Took her to different groups, women groups, where you could do chair yoga because she wasn't as mobile because of the neuropathy in her feet at the time. And there's things like aquatic exercise, your body weight, all of that, your buoyancy, so to speak. You don't have to put much pressure on your joints, especially if your body's inflamed. The things you can do. So staying active helps with your brain function, your body function, and reducing the inflammation in your body. Better quality of sleep. For those of you who work nights, in my case, that has happened to me, along my life journey, where taking care of my mom for a period of time, made the decision to take care of her at home. So for me, I had to do that. And so for me, is your quality of sleep has to be reset. How do you do that? Put things in place to help you with a better quality of sleep. You can track your sleep through apps, and you can use different things to help you with your sleep cycle. There's certain types of natural remedies you can actually use for your sleep. But of course, if you're taking medication, you need to be able to consult with your pharmacist or a naturopathic doctor to inquire if anything will be have a negative interaction with your medication. As an example, with my mom, when she had her second stroke, which left her bedridden, even though I wanted to help because she had mild to moderate dementia, with her medication, things like ginkgo biloba and turmeric and all those things, she couldn't have because she had a beta block medication that she had to take. So as an example with medications and better quality of sleep, if you need to be able to get a better quality of sleep, make sure if you're taking something to help you to sleep that's natural, make sure it doesn't have a negative effect on whatever you're taking in medication-wise. That's pharmaceutical medication. Another thing as well is that there is a direct link with your sleep cycle and how your body is able to cope with regenerating itself. As example, your sleep cycle, if it's disrupted, you can find that you may be more fatigued. You find that your body's more acidic. If you're not able to tell if it's acidic or not, you can find that you have more joints, more aches, and more pains. I have a back injury, and I know if I don't sleep enough, it flares up, right? So for me, I can tell you through experience that this actually is very important. If there are times when you have short cycles of sleep, less than 8 hours, if in the day you can take a little cat nap, do that. You find that you can feel more energized if your body allows it, of course, to sleep for like an hour in between the day, or 90-minute cycles. That actually can help you with your overall well-being. Another thing as well is your oral inflammation. So dental care is also important, because if your gums are inflamed, it can actually lead to different things like heart disease. It can lead to inflammation in the overall body. And the reason I say that, I'm going to refer back to my mom. She developed something called angioedema. And we took her to all of these appointments, do all the things, and colonoscopy, small, large intestine, couldn't find anything. I took her to, at the time she had dentures, when I took her, they found something at the back of her dentures. So that actually was causing the flare up with her ears, her nose, her lips, her face swelling up. That was inflammation being formed, which could actually impact her heart over time. So oral inflammation is important to be able to monitor, to make sure that you don't develop gum disease. We can actually impact you in your inflammation in your overall body. Smoking, if you're a smoker, I'm not here to judge, but if you can reduce the amount of times you smoke, or to quit smoking, or just to start on a whole, that will help you in reducing the inflammation. And because this also has been proven through medical research that it triggers inflammation and all other chronic diseases. Another one is reducing your stress management. Now, how do you do that? There are many ways you can do that. Meditation is great. I love meditating. It's something I had to keep on doing until I was able to find one that worked for me. Spending time in nature, going to groups, have a friend, go walking, listening to something that will help you to de-stress your body. I love walking. I started off with 3 miles, into 4 miles, 5 miles, 6 miles, and so forth. And I actually have made a promise myself to recommit to doing that once the weather gets warmer, of course. And then if not, you can do it to your home, right? So you can manage your stress level in different ways. There's certain coping mechanisms you can put in place, like in your little imaginary basket. Things like music, certain kind of music that will switch your mind from being stressed, and your body from being stressed to distressing. Having a good cup of something that will help you to distress your body and your mind. Spending time with people who are going to uplift you in a positive way, and having healthy conversations around that. Like in this conversation that we have here, this interaction we're having here, hopefully we can have some good Q&A at the end, is something that we can actually have as a safe environment so you can share your concerns. Another one is making sure you do regular health checkups. I'm going to get my mom, I'm speaking to her very often because we're very close. If all of the appointments I took her to, now you may not have that ability to have someone to help you to go there, but you can maybe have a reminder for yourself, a system in place to make sure you have your health checkup as regular as possible, so that you make sure that your body is basically running the way it's meant to, so that you can reduce further complications in your health journey. Another thing too as well is I did another research through the Harvard Institute, and one of the things that we know that inflammation can trigger is, I mentioned cancer, heart disease, and diabetes, and arthritis. Depression is one of them as well, right? Sometimes we're told that, that you either have chronic depression or other things that may be impacting you, but it could be as well. Again, I'm not a doctor, I'm just sharing from the information I learned, is that if your body's highly inflamed, you can do things to counteract that. There are certain foods that you can eat. Some people can have and can't have, depending on how their body breaks down food. But one thing we know, that whole grains and foods that provide you with the right omegas and the right types of things in the way of protein, and you have the right type of vitamins, you can actually add superfoods to those to be able to help you. Things I would say to reduce, things like sodas and fried foods and refined sugar. Someone from the Caribbean, we tend to use a lot of baking or frying. So if you can reduce that, depending on your upbringing, so to speak, of what you were introducing to your diet, reduce some of those things and to increase it one at a time, it'd be hard to just switch cold turkey, so to speak. But if you're able to say, okay, I can actually implement one or two good things a week, reduce one thing a week, then over time, as you're moving and walking and you're being active and you're doing the right things, you find that you're inspired to eat healthier. And I know that happens to me. The brain sort of switches, like it turns on and says, okay, I did walking, I did this, I felt really good. Let me eat something healthier. But if you're feeling stressed or demotivated, or you feel, sort of like, some depression's coming on, you gravitate to things for comfort. And my thing for comfort is chocolate. Play the good kind. I drink the good kind. But these are things I'm just saying to you that you can be mindful of. Now, am I saying to limit all foods that cause inflammation? Well, the brain is habitual. So if you like and gravitate to certain things like bread, like moi, then you say, okay, instead of having bread every single day, have it once a week or twice a week. So you can trick your brain into eating healthier by sort of switching on some of the good habits and sort of dialing down on some of the not so good habits that will help you to be able to improve your overall well-being. So one of the things for reducing inflammation is your self-care for yourself. Having a healthier lifestyle is habitual. It's taking the mindset that you are investing in you. You're your biggest investment. So self-care practices in the way you eat, how you move, how you sleep, how you take care of yourself in the way of mind, body, spirit can help you to be able to come and to improve your health journey. So proper nutrition is one. Now, we know that some of the foods on the market is heavily depleted in the nutrients you need. So you can combat that with, or pair it with superfoods that can help you. So for example, if you're making a smoothie, you can add a superfood to it. If you're having a beverage, you can add a superfood to it. If you're having foods, like my good friend Deborah, she has a whole sort of recipes, which I actually am going to sort of pick from her brain, that she adds superfoods to her food, so she gets more nutrients from that, because she has had to make the switch from regular food to organic food, and not all organic foods are equal. So these are things that you can think of, that what can I do to bring my body back to a wellness state? I love spirulina. I do it in my smoothie now. Spirulina, for example, is not the tastiest thing. If you like me palates, if it doesn't pass my palate, I may try it once or twice, but I'm not going to have it habitually into my regime, my food regime, right? So what I do, I pair it with mangoes, because I love mangoes. So in this case, you can pair, something good that may not taste all the best with something that you like. And when I put mangoes in my smoothie with my spirulina, ooh, it's like ice cream. So for example, you can do those kind of things that can help you, and also be mindful of the foods that can trigger inflammation, right? So something like unhealthy fats. We know, for example, when you bake, some people may use unhealthy types of, fat. So if you're cooking or frying, again, be mindful of that. And then how you prepare your foods, that's another thing. But I put here a list of top 10 superfoods. What I'm going to share with you in the further slides, in about a minute or so, is reishi. And reishi is a Eastern superfood. It's a medicinal as well as a food supplement that has been used for thousands of years. Now the Eastern world has known about this for thousands of years, but now it's been trending for the last maybe 15 or so years in North America, but also has been known to by a lot of naturopathic doctors, nutritionists, those who are focused on, whole foods. They know a lot more about this. But for you and I, who are sort of learning as we explore this amazing superfood, there's a lot of findings through PubMed, for example, on the goodness of this particular reishi. Now, Not all reishi are equal, of course. I'll share that with you in a little bit. But here you can take a screen capture of the types of superfood that are here. And of course, if you have others that you know of, you could please feel free to share. Now, as I speak about Ganoderma, think of you eating healthy. You have a plate of greens, your limited carbs, your protein, and you think that's all healthy. But your body needs more nutrients than you actually can consume in a day. 3 meals, 2 snacks, or however you decide to put your nutrition together for your daily consumption. But I'm giving an example on the left. For example, the Ganoderma itself is very high in antioxidants. And there's a gentleman named Gary Brecker. He's called the human biologist. And he states that, most people, when they have certain underlying conditions, are just deficient in a nutrient, a vitamin. And our body naturally produces vitamin D3. Other nutrients, vitamins we have to consume. So if you're consuming food and your body needs X amount of antioxidants or X amount of nutrients or minerals, and you're eating one orange, for example, or a portion of your avocado, or maybe some, strawberries or tomatoes, but you're not getting sufficient because most times your serving should be 1 to 2. In this case, an example, for green tea, you need 54 cups of green tea for the right amount of antioxidants for your body. Whereas with the Ganoderma, just for example, like 1 capsule or 1 cup of goodness, you get 150, which is at times 3 to 4, sometimes 10x what an average regular meal can provide for your body. But not just that, other things too, right? Probiotics, fatty acids, but including a superfood into your body actually helps your body to become more pH balanced. Now, to your right, I put a slide here that explains some of the benefits, but there's much more than that. These 3 are one of my favorites on the planet that I've learned over time of the goodness of what they can do. These are just some of the things it can do. Ganoderma, I mentioned to you, with Health Canada, we have the natural product number on all of our bottles that states that it supports the immune system. Once your immune system is supported, then you can actually start the journey of repairing your body in certain ways, right? So for example, amino acids is understated. And it's not underrated, but it's understated. And so it helps your body in a way that helps to reduce stress and promote health benefits. With this Ganoderma, has more than just protecting your immune system. Cordyceps as well is another amazing mushroom. It helps with your endurance. But what I've actually found for this, as I mentioned, one of the conditions my sister has, my older sister, was asthma. It helps for those individuals who are asthmatic, but also help you support your immune system. So individuals who are having certain conditions like neuropathy and nerve damage, it also is known to help with the cordyceps. Lion's mane, it is actually a very popular mushroom. It's infused into many products, but you can actually have it on its own. It helps with your brain function and also brain inflammation and much, much more. So we know through different studies, through PubMed, I mentioned to you, pubmed.gov. It's not my website. It is a public medical library that is worldwide that has over 3,000 plus case studies of Ganoderma. From anything from inflammation to cancer to different conditions, even quality of sleep, different things. And I like researching, but from the right sources. So Ganoderma is known to reduce inflammation. To your right, I've actually put a few of the PubMed findings that I've actually researched through pubmed.gov. So it not only supports your immune system, it helps you with a better mood. It helps you with your overall well-being and aids in longevity, and also helps to reduce stress. So I mentioned here to the right, spores of Ganoderma. The Ganoderma grows into 3 stages, which I'll share with you in a couple of slides down. And so the spores is what germinates to create more naturally. So it helps with your gut. It helps with your immune system. It suppresses obesity, inflammation. It also helps with with things like, your immune system, your neuroinflammation. It also is known for anti-liver disorders, which is part of inflammatory disorder, and anti-tumor growth. I don't know if you ever heard the term, if a body is not acidic, a disease cannot form. If the body is acidic, it gives it a perfect breeding storm, a very perfect storm for illness, for disease to be formed into the body. So when you help your body to heal itself in the way it's meant to, and you're giving it the right things, disease cannot form. Now, there are certain times you have certain illnesses can take, a year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years to show up with severe symptoms, like in the case of my aunt who had PICS and ALS. Over time, some of the conditions she had, we couldn't quite connect the dots until it was too late. But in this case, in these findings that are happening, that I found, I actually put other things that I found, not just about inflammation, because we know that things like hypertension is very dominant in our community. In different cultures, it impacts people differently. Different ethnicity, it impacts people differently. But overall, as in a human society, so to speak, we have similar situations that we don't really realize that inflammation could be an underlying current that actually triggers all of these. So things like cognitive impairment, your by not being able to get enough oxygen or the oxidative stress, things like cardiovascular disease, and also cannabis is known to be anti-osteoporosis, which is part of inflammation. So cordyceps is another thing as well. I mentioned to you before. Here's some PubMed studies. You can take a screen capture if you wish to do that. And this also helps with it also is known for anti-inflammation, antioxidants, and it helps protect the brain, neuroprotective effects. It also helps with protecting your organs, organ dysfunction, sepsis, is also known for depressant-like effects. So there are certain medications on the market that the researchers have done and compare them, and it's okay. It has the same type of results as a medication. Now, I'm not saying to stop taking your medication. What we have actually discovered through speaking to naturopathic doctors and nutritionists is that if you're consuming medication and you're consuming things like Ganadem or cordyceps or even lion's mane, there's no negative interaction with what we consume, especially Ganadem. And I can share with you this because my mom, who had her first stroke, and then we were consuming the Ganadem for many years now, over almost 12 years. I know the benefits. I've heard it from naturopathic doctors, but hearing and actually having experience with a family member you love is sort of like you just want to hear a second opinion. So I would go to I went to the pharmacist that has her blister packs at the time with all her medication. I asked, can she take this, which was the Ganadem at the time, with her medication? And he goes, I said Rishi at the time. He goes, Rishi. I said Ganoderma. And he said, yeah, you can take it with it because there's no negative interaction with medication. So that for me put my heart at rest, at ease. So I was able to say, okay, I can actually say that there's no negative interaction from what was shared with us through the people who were actually in that field. And so the mycelium also helps with anti-depression. It's actually anti-depression effects. So it helps to combat or fight against depression. If you're depressed, you have anxiety, all of this can trigger inflammation. I mentioned here through the lion's mane, and we know it's good for brain function. It also helps with the gut brain. When you have good gut health, let me say that not too fast, good gut health, you actually have the ability to heal your gut because your body and your gut, they actually communicate. And then also it helps with your cognitive function. Now we talk about brain inflammation. If the brain is inflamed, you don't have proper cognitive function in the brain. And so it also helps to support you in your focus and your concentration with your brain, and also with your recollection, with your memory and all of that. But I won't go into detail, but just know that with the findings that we have here, again, please feel free to take a screen capture. And this was taken from pubmed.gov. So I want to share with you all of that, but I want to share with you as well why we're so passionate about this particular brand. We discovered wellness with organo about 12 years ago by simply consuming a cup of, in my case, mocha and my husband black coffee, along with some carrot cake at the time. And we sort of heard the information on it, and we said, oh, we never heard about that. And the reason I'm sharing that with you, literally 3 weeks after my aunt passed and she had ALS and PICS, we discovered this. For 2 years, I researched as to what she could have in the way of helping her. And because of her being, Black, and also having a condition that's not common in the Black community, they couldn't give her a proper dietary recommendation, and they couldn't give her any medication. So basically, within 2 years of her being diagnosed, she passed away. And literally 3 weeks after she passed, still in mourning, it was in September. She was laid to rest in August. 3 weeks after, in September, someone shared this with me. And at the time, I was like shocked. And I truly believe later on, by hearing all the findings, that this would have helped her, especially with a brain disorder. But everything happens for a reason and God's timing. And so it wasn't meant for her, but it was meant for me to share with you today. And so I can say this without crying, because that was one of my big whys why we decided to be a part of this amazing company. And so one small choice can leave a lasting impact. So the power of Ganoderma can only be confirmed once you consume it and have the experience yourself. I can share with you all of the things that it's been known for, but until your body is consuming it and you have your own living testimony, then you can say that you can actually have that experience, the power of Ganoderma. So as I mentioned to you, Ganoderma, it's not all Ganoderma is the same. So Ganoderma itself is exclusive. It is organic. In our case, naturally grown. And we have the patent to protect it, and it's actually grown on plum law. And so we have all of the certification. Our company is called Organo, and we're very proud to represent them today. Now, to your right, you can see a yellow-ish type of color. That's also Ganoderma, but not grown as nature intended. It is still considered organic, but it cannot reproduce itself. So you have something that's giving you a 99% viability into your body because it's naturally grown and harvested. Whereas to your right, you can have between 4% to maybe about 40% of the nutrients that goes into your body, and you're not getting exactly what it's meant to give you. So if you go to Amazon, different companies, you might find it a little bit less expensive, or the Healthy Planet, or another location, but not all organic products are made equally. So if you know what it can do for you, great. If you've never heard of it, then I'm here to share that with you. Now, Ganoderma itself, if you were to make it in a tincture, just boil it down and drink it, it's very bitter. If you're like me, bitter and I are not friends. But if you can consume a cup of coffee or a tea or hot cocoa, or even take the capsules, you're consuming the goodness of the Ganoderma without the bitterness of the actual taste, because we found a way to infuse it into everyday consumable items that you and I love. Now, if you're not a hot beverage kind of person, these actually you can consume them cold. But you can actually have the capsules as well. As I mentioned to you, my good friend, she's found a way to infuse it into her recipes, which I'm waiting for an invitation to come over. So another one is the Royale. That's originally we had certain brands, flavors of coffee, but this one has the trifecta effect. So you have the lion's mane, the Ganoderma, and the cordyceps infused into one sachet of coffee. Now, I mentioned coffee, tea, hot cocoa. We have premium coffee, tea, hot cocoa that the taste of it, you would not realize that you're having such goodness into your body, but you're consuming this and getting a daily dose of your goodness. Now, you think of it as you're eating food. You cannot overdose on Ganoderma, reishi, and cordyceps, because you're consuming it and the body takes what it needs. And these are considered not just medicinal mushroom, but also whole food. So we know that in when you look at certain things, you have to also realize that what your body needs, it takes. So I can tell you, for me, for example, my allergies. I've had allergies since I came to Canada for 21 years. had to take antihistamines, still didn't alleviate some of the issues. And then consuming a cup of tea at the time, because that's all I drank, I noticed within 3 weeks that my allergies didn't trigger. I thought, oh, that's a fluke. Maybe I'm not having any allergies. Continued consuming it, and then 5 months later, it didn't trigger again. So it's been now almost 12 years. And I haven't had to take any antihistamines. Thank you. But I know that it's doing more than that for me. I can tell you if I go have a cold, this is once every 4 years. And so for me, I know the reasons why I know I would trigger a cold, either I'm not sleeping enough, things like that. So for me, I know that I'm giving my body what it needs. And for me, at the time, not realizing the goodness of it, I just decided to go by faith and consume it. So one of the things I want to share with you, as I mentioned before, the difference between the artificial and the natural, they're both considered organic. But if you look to your left, the absorption rate is up to 13% for those that are not grown naturally, like in plastic bags, and those who are grown, naturally, as nature intended, is 99.9% that it stays in your body. And the best comparison is if you were to take, let's say, a vitamin B complex. Your body takes what it needs, and then you actually pee it out or urinate it out, and your pee might be yellow, right? But in this case, as you're consuming this and detoxifies your body, and you're consuming, your regular water consumption and so forth, you find that it actually stays in your body and does what it needs to do, because you can tell by your urine. So as we wrap up here, I want to share with you, we have a promotion on different packages. We call them limited edition wellness packages, but you can actually move towards trying out 1 or 2 boxes. But if you want to, benefit with have your family benefit, you can actually consider a wellness pack where you can save 15% on your order, your purchase, where you can get your boxes of, for example, your the coffee, tea, hot cocoa. I want to also pinpoint we have, mentioned that we have a toothpaste. Toothpaste has Ganoderma in it. I mentioned gum disease and plaque buildup and so forth. I love the smell. I've been using it for 12 years. And for me, I go for my cleaning and so forth. And so I'm not the best person to floss, but I can share with you for one thing that they have noticed that my teeth, I used to have bleeding gums, and that's not an issue anymore for the last few years. But because the Ganoderma is meant to heal, you consume it to help the body, give it what it needs. You're getting, the Ganoderma into your system, but also as you brush your teeth, your tongue, and of course, you're not ingesting any fluoride because it's fluoride free. And so the taste of it is actually pretty good. So good for adults and kids, or kids at heart. And then you have it in capsule form and so forth. And there's other products as well. But I want to share that with you that depends on what you gravitate to. I would recommend that you would at least try that. If you're a tea person, try tea. If you have tea and coffee, try that and give yourself at least 30 days, 60 days, 90 days to see what it can do for you. And then, of course, we would welcome you to be part of our health journey. And you want to be part of your health journey, but to be able to have a community of like-minded people that we can share and to be able to talk about certain things. And as we wrap up with the last slide, I want to basically introduce my husband here. His name is Kerry-Ann. I spoke about him in the beginning. We were fortunate to be part of 2 articles the month of December and January. And this is a Women's Journal and CEO Weekly, and we have one coming up for the month of March. And so we speak on the transfer, how we're able to help others to empower them into a healthier version of themselves, and to also consider, that there are other things out there that can help you besides pharmaceuticals. I'm not saying to not take your medication. What I'm saying is to be able to be informed that there are other things out there that can help you along your wellness journey. So as I wrap up here, I wanted to give those of you a chance who have questions that you can answer at this time. I can try to answer at my time, and as I'm doing that, I'm going to read the chat as well so that I can see if there's any questions in here. So I will be quiet for a little bit. No questions? Any feedback? Okay, I see this Elise Gaynor. You said you give your mom mycelium. She has Alzheimer's and dementia. Yeah, so in my case, I see Deborah has a question. I'm just going to address Elise, and then I'll come to you, Deborah. In my aunt case who passed, which we couldn't really do anything at the time. Later on, I found out that, for example, Dr. Bob Bukowski, he has a clinic in Houston, and he shared one of his testimony from his clients who they were giving, who had mycelium and the green tea, because that person had dementia, and then they couldn't, Alzheimer's, and they couldn't remember their child's name. After consuming it, they were able to recall the child's name. So I love that. So thank you. This is actually really good. Thank you for sharing, Elise. Deborah, you have a question?
Thank you.
Well, I just wanted to say that being a person with fibro, which was whatever they called it, the fate disease, or it's all in your head, I was able to start using the skincare, because with that illness, I had to change junk in, junk out, and it didn't matter how it was getting into my system. So everything that I touched, tasted, used on I had to change everything. And I had a rosacea mark from lupus on my that I just realized the other day is really, it's fading. It was very dark. It was
Wow.
so noticeable, and it was like taking over my face. But
Oh.
just wanted to say that skincare is really good, and it's simple. And I love simple because I get really agitated really fast with this illness, and simple is key for me to continue doing and using any product.
Mhm.
It is one of the easiest, and it lasts long. The amount that you get, of course, I looked at the price and I was like, who can afford that? And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try it anyway. But it lasts a good 6 months, and I'm using it the way I'm supposed to, twice a day.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I love it. I'm glad that you're actually getting great benefits and outcome with your skin. Because we all know the skin is the biggest, one of the largest organs. So whatever you put in, it shows out. In my case, for 20 some years, I had acne. Like not just a simple acne, like hormonal. Cycle comes, you get like 7 big ones. And then I noticed, I just wanted results, not realizing there's so many chemicals in those things, right? And
yes.
then I switched it. It's been 5 years, and people say, "Oh, I love your skin. I love your skin." I said, thank you, man. And what's your secret?" So I share with them my secret. But all this is a 1-2 step. That's it. So 1, 2, 3: cleanser, jojoba oil, moisturizer. I'm good to go. So thanks for sharing that. I'm glad that you're getting great results from that. We will have our weekly recordings saved. We have a private Facebook group called Longevity of Organo. For those of you who aren't part of us, we want to invite you there. And so, of course, you can see the previous recordings. We want to speak on menopause next week. Next
Oh,
Tuesday, we'll be talking about menopause. And feel free to invite your lady friends, also your male counterparts, because they may have people in their family who are going through menopause. There's also something called andropause, which I learned about that the men experience. So they could come on board to listen. And then we'll be sharing that information as well as the next Tuesday comes around. We also have a business call on Sundays at 5 p.m., where for those of you who see an opportunity to earn additional income by sharing health and wellness, especially with this platform, we do have that. It's a private invite. So for those of you who were invited, reach out to the person who invited you. You will also receive a survey at the end just to get your feedback as to how the call went. And so we invite you to, it takes about 3 minutes or so, and be able to get your valuable feedback. So thank you so much for your time. You could have been doing anything else this evening, but you chose to join us. And so we want to give the time back to you so you can go back to enjoy your family time. Have a great night to all, and take care, everyone. Bye for now.
good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.